Turnware is proud to sponsor Aftersight's Navigating Life with Vision Loss podcast series. At Turnware, we provide managed IT services and custom-built hardware that help organizations stay secure and connected. We're honored to support these important conversations on safety, accessibility, and innovation. On behalf of Turnware and Aftersight, please enjoy this episode of Navigating Life with Vision Loss.
Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss, an Aftersight original podcast. In each episode, we share stories, insights, and practical advice to help you navigate the journey of living with low vision or blindness. Together, we'll embrace each step with courage, grace, and hope.
Hello, this is Kim Wardlow. Welcome to Navigating Life with Vision Loss. I'm so excited. We're starting our second series of the year. And this series is on safety. We're on week 1, so it's always exciting to start a new thing. So this is great, and we're actually starting 2 new things. Not only the safety episode, but we'll also be talking a bit about Code Orange, which is our new Aftersight podcast. So as we start with our safety series, it's 16 weeks, and we'll be covering all kinds of aspects of safety. So your personal safety, physical safety, emotional kinds of safety in relationships, in terms of money and fraud and all of those kinds of things, cybersecurity. So lots of different aspects of safety over these next 16 weeks. So hopefully you'll be able to listen to all of them. And as we start today, we're going to be talking about personal safety at home and in public with our guest, Marty Sobo. He's a longtime accessibility advocate, a podcaster, a blind professional known for championing disability inclusive emergency preparedness. And he has a background in technology and lived experience navigating life with vision loss, a passion for clear, actionable safety education. And Marty brings real-world insight and practical strategies to Aftersight's new show called Code Orange. So he is the host of our new show that's coming out. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. So welcome, Marty.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so I don't know, just to get started, if you want to talk a bit about your own experience, and we can talk a bit about the safety in home and public before we jump to Code Orange, which we'll talk about because it also launches today. But I know prior to your vision loss, you were a firefighter, so you have a lot of experience in terms of safety and personal safety.
Yeah. Let's see. Where should I even start? So yeah, I did, work for the fire service in Oregon and saw a lot of different things in terms of safety and public outreach and things like that. So the interesting thing about that whole situation, we were really rural where we were. So we did structural type situations and wildland fire type situations. And we also ran task force to other places if they needed extra help, fires in California or Washington, stuff like that. So it's really rare to be able to have knowledge in all 3 of those. So that's not typically a normal thing, but where we were, that was. So I did a lot of that. I also had a background in technology, and when I lost my vision, I had a background in technology, but I knew nothing about accessibility. So once I had gotten my diagnosis, I needed to then sort of go, what do I do now? I didn't really know any blind people at that time. I knew there was blind people in the world, but I didn't know anybody or had any personal experience. And, when you get your diagnosis and they go, well, it looks like you're going to be blind and good luck to you, and boot you out of the office. I was where I had gone. I did 2 full days of testing for, all the different things they wanted to do. And then on the end of the very last day, they stuck me in the doctor's office, and he came in and said, "Oh, your diagnosis is you're going to be blind, and good luck to you. We'll try and retain your vision for as long as we can, and otherwise, good luck." And he then just walked out. I don't think he was in there 3 minutes, maybe. And nobody gave me any direction on who to talk to, where to go. Here's some resources. None of that.
Wow.
So I had to do a lot of my own searching, and through that, I, found at the time it was Commission for the Blind in Oregon, because that's where I was at the time. And then I ended up getting a mobility instructor, and then I found ACB, which stands for American Council of the Blind, and I learned and taught myself kind of all of the accessibility stuff with iPhone and computers and stuff like that, JAWS, VoiceOver, all those kinds of things. And once I started meeting people in ACB and beyond, I started helping people with their own accessibility and technology stuff, because a lot of people struggle with that, especially when they have the vision loss. And then they don't really know how to use a phone, which is like, for example, on an iPhone, where they're unable to understand the technology, but they have no choice to learn it at the same time. But also they're dealing with the emotional loss of their vision. So it's kind of a lot. So I kind of donated a lot of my time to be able to help people learn how to use their technology. Mm-hmm. And then that turned into doing a lot of different public speaking events at a lot of different ACB conventions, both in and outside of Oregon at the time. And it kind of grew from there. And somewhere along the line, maybe 2015, 16, something like that, we started helping people with website stuff and podcasting and audio, and kind of just went down the rabbit hole of technology. So
yeah. So when and where did your passion for accessibility and emergency preparedness kind of come together?
Well, the beginning of this year, all of those fires in California broke out, which is where I was at the time, and the fires were all around where I live. So I had a ton of friends and family that had lost their homes, but when it got super close to where I live, and then all of a sudden I'm having to evacuate my parents and stuff like that, and nobody was prepared for anything. When I was evacuating my parents' house with my siblings and trying to get them situated, they weren't ready for anything. I mean, they didn't have anything ready to go. My dad was like, "We got the dogs and I got a pair of sweats and I'll be back tomorrow," which turned into like a couple of weeks later.
Right.
And it was crazy to me, I guess, to just see how unprepared so many people were. It was just, the fire came in, and next thing you know, people's houses are gone in a split second, and the fire just was devastating. And I think that the big thing to see the people who, your friends and loved ones who are just so not prepared, and how scary really it could be, and how close to home it really hits, is really when it started for me.
Yeah. And after going through that, and obviously I'm sure you learned a lot of things, what have you learned about safety that you wish you had known earlier?
Well, going back to the being prepared thing, I wish that more people knew and were prepared ahead of time. Things like have a go bag, right? And so you can grab that and go out the door, and whether that means, having the important documents that you would need, or whether that means if you need to have an extra cane somewhere, or maybe have some stuff at other people's houses, friends or family, if you get kicked out really quick and don't have a chance to be able to be ready within the 15 minutes they tell you to get out, And I think also the biggest thing is, if you're by yourself in that kind of situation, or you're with maybe someone else who doesn't drive, the situation that was happening was they had all of the emergency services, fire, and all of those kind of people out dealing with the fires and whatever goes on there. And they brought in the military to block off all the neighborhoods and keep people from going back into the areas where they were evacuating people. So, if you weren't already in there, they wouldn't even let you go back home to even get or check anything. And if you're someone who doesn't drive, how are you going to get out of there? And what if you have a guide dog, or what if whatever the situation is, they are not prepared for those kind of people. So
Yeah.
you have to have a game plan. You have to know that there's neighbors around you that maybe you need to talk to and say, hey, if there's an emergency, could you at least check and make sure that, you have a ride out or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Well,
There's just a lot.
right. There's a lot. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as when we talk about Code Orange and that coming out, because that will include all of that. But even when we're not facing an emergency like a fire or a flood, there are still safety risks that we may have to think about or should be thinking about when we're at home. What do you see as the most common household safety risks that may come for someone who has low vision or blindness?
I would say having things in your house, safe for you. So, making sure heavy things aren't up high, loose, that could fall down if you accidentally, hit something. So you want to make sure that you know your way around really well. And if you need any, bump dots for identification, that's really important. Making sure you understand how to get all around in your home so that if you do need to get out quick, you can have a game plan with your family and friends so that if you do need help or there is an emergency that happens, you can get out easily and quickly to the best of whatever you can do in that situation. Have a go bag ready if you need, or maybe if you're like a blind or low vision person who needs to use a cane, maybe you have a backup cane at a family member's house in case you don't have time to get that when you're running out. If you have maybe a guide dog, maybe put some, important things like maybe some backup food, maybe some whatever your dog would need at a family friend's house, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just can't take everything when you go out the door. If you have an emergency and you've got 10, 15, 20 minutes to get out, what's the most important things you're going to, need to be able to run out with, either fit it in a backpack or in your arms or whatever the case is. And you can't take everything.
Right.
So that's the thing that's really tough.
And even if you don't have to leave, if you're not in an emergency situation, if you're just looking at like your day-to-day safety in your home, are there things that you can do in your home, like tactile markers or organizations or things like that, just to make your home more safe, and to keep yourself more safe just in your home, or maybe habits of things that people can do or tools they can use?
Yeah, definitely. Bump dots are great, so you can help navigate your way around. If there's any other identifying things that you can do, put something on an exit door that, maybe, sometimes they have these trackers now that, you can make beep or make a noise, and that will guide you into that direction. You listen for the different sounds. The trackers can go on keys or bags or wherever. They're really handy. I would also say that have a fire extinguisher in your house where you know where it is. If you're in the kitchen and maybe something catches on fire in an oven or on the stove, that you know how to grab the fire extinguisher, make sure that it is ready to go, and that you can, how to like kind of point it at whatever you need to point it at and pull the trigger so that, you can get that under control quickly if that's something you're able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Have fluids ready if you need to, water or maybe backup food, batteries, all that kind of thing if you need that kind of stuff. So,
Right. And some of those things aren't real high tech. They're just being prepared. Are there tech tools that you use to help prevent, injury, accidents, just maintain your independence around your own home area?
yeah, I mean, another thing would be fire alerts. They used to just go up on the ceiling and they would just make a lot of noise.
Mm-hmm.
But now they've brought those kind of to the next level at this point. So not only do they take batteries and not only do they detect smoke, but they can detect other, like gas leaks or other odors that maybe you can't smell right away. So they would detect it before there was a dangerous situation and make an alert, not only for smoke, or would work for different odors and things like that can be harmful. And they also now put them wired into the electricity in their home. So not only do they have a battery, but they also run off the power in your home if need be. So they still take 9-volt batteries, but if the battery dies, it won't completely fail. It'll still be able to
Right.
work off power in the home. And they do have fire, alerts now where they talk. And so you can get audio verbiage instead of just a loud beep, and you don't know what the beep means. So those are great and handy to have as well.
Yeah, so that's great advice for things we can do just around our homes to improve our safety in our homes and prevent accidents, or if an accident happens, um, to minimize any damage or injuries. Uh, we also need to think about these things when we're out and in public and having safety in public. And again, if having vision loss or blindness may add another layer to that of being aware. I know you travel, Marty. Are there uh, pieces of advice you could give folks to be safe if they're traveling alone?
Oh, yeah. So my personal experience and what I typically do when I go to order my plane tickets, if I'm going to be traveling, flying and stuff like that, I will call in, and then you talk to a live person who helps you make sure that you get the tickets, so there's not any mistakes or anything like that. And then they can also make notes on your record. For example, needing extra help navigating through the airport and through security. And they're always really great in that sense because they'll help you get through security and unpack your stuff, whatever security needs you to do, get you through security. Once you're on the other side of security, they'll help you get your stuff all back and, put back together. They help you navigate to your gate. And if you need a restroom or food along the way, they help you with that. And then once you get to your gate where your plane is going to land, the people who are boarding the plane, they know that you need extra help and they come get you and help you get on the plane before everyone else so that you're not fighting all the people and all of those things. And depending on the airlines and things like that, you could get moved up, your seat closer to the front so that they can access you quickly. And usually when they put those notes in, all of the staff on the plane knows that you may need some extra assistance. So they'll come to you at your seat when you get on the plane, and they will go over all the emergency exits, where oxygen would be if you need it, and that they want to also make sure that they'll be there to help you if there is a situation there where you would need assistance. So everybody knows ahead of time that you would need extra help, and they're all prepared for that. So that's really great. And then when you land, they help you get off the plane and do all that, get your luggage, get you to where your ride's going to be out front, or meet up with your people who are picking you up, all of those things. So it's really great, and it doesn't cost any extra. It's part of the whole system. You just have to understand when you call in to talk to a live agent and let them know so that everything is in your notes ahead of time.
And if you are out by yourself, certainly if somebody's picked you up, that's helpful. But if you are out, either traveling or even out in your own community, if there's a situation that either you need help or somebody is offering you help, that is a person that you don't know, what advice do you give folks when you need to ask somebody for help, but there's not someone around that that you're asking a stranger?
I would definitely recommend that everybody learn how to use Aira. What Aira is it's an app that goes on your phone. And then if you need to use it for any reason, you open up the app and make that call. A live agent comes onto, your phone. And then what they do is they're able to see through the camera on your phone what's around you. So, for example, if you would call, say, like you're lost and you don't know where you are, or there's some kind of a situation, you make the call, they come on, and then they can use your camera and you can point your camera around at signs or at streets, corners, wherever you are, and they can identify whatever's around you and help you get out of whatever situation you're in. If you're lost, for example, or if you get turned around and maybe you think you're over at this store, but you ended up maybe going the wrong way. And, so they can really help you in many ways. They can help you get a lift if you need to. They can help you call a family member if you need that kind of assistance. There's a lot of things they can do, and they're really great at that. So I would definitely say that's one thing
Mhm.
that you should have. I would also say to make sure that you have, your family and close friends available if you need to make a phone call, and you have FaceTime if you have an iPhone, and if everyone else in your family has FaceTime, they can do a similar thing where they could look through your camera on your phone if you have FaceTime on, and they can kind of look around and try and help you identify where you are and which way to go, or at least they can get your location and come get you if it needs to be that. So definitely have friends and family ready to go, on your phone to call if you need help. Have Aira ready to go if you need help. Maybe learn and speak with your neighbors around the area so that people know, who you are. Maybe you'll need extra help from a neighbor to get a ride or get assistance if you don't have a lot of people around, stuff like that.
Yeah. And doing all that preparation helps you have confidence if you do have to interact um, with folks in the public in a situation, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, because if you are prepared as much as you could be prepared, then it's not as scary when you have to use your tools,
Mhm.
I mean, and practice, do a dry run, go stand somewhere and call Ira, call your family, use FaceTime, like as if you got lost or there's some other emergency or you needed assistance in any way, because being prepared, practicing, and doing all of that makes it less scary when you actually are in a real situation.
Mhm. Is there an example you could give of a situation you've been in where maybe you didn't expect it, but you needed um,
Yeah.
you felt like you were in an unsafe situation and needed to respond to that?
Yeah, definitely. So, speaking to what we were just speaking with, took a lift to go meet my brother at his house. At the time, he was living in an apartment building that was about 30 minutes away. And the driver came to my house, picked me up. We drove out to my brother's apartment. And when we got there, the driver said, "Okay, the sidewalk is right to your right. When you get out, you'll be right on the sidewalk." He sort of navigated me around verbally, said the corner is, you get out, and if you get on the sidewalk, you go left down that sidewalk, and the corner's about 50 yards up there. And then the apartment building is directly across the street from where you were standing. And he asked me, is your brother going to come down and meet you? And I said, yes, absolutely. And so he's like, okay, great. And so he took off, and I called my brother and said, okay, I'm here. You want to come down and grab me? And so he's like, okay, cool. He comes down and calls me back a couple minutes later and says, I'm standing in front of the building. I don't see you anywhere. And he said, let me walk to the corner. Maybe you're around the corner. And so he walked down to the end of the corner, and I wasn't around the corner. And he's like, I don't see you anywhere. Are you sure you're at the right place? And I go, well, the driver said I was. It turned out that the driver dropped me off in the wrong place.
Right.
So we had to actually use FaceTime. I had to get to the corner so he could and point the camera at the street, the two, X streets,
Mhm.
this going north and south and east and west to figure out what corner I was at. And my brother was like, okay, I see the streets. I'm going to jump in my truck and put it in the navigation. And he had to drive and come get me. And literally, it was over a 10-minute drive from where he actually lived
Wow.
to where I was.
So you weren't even close.
I wasn't even close. And not to mention, there was a lot of people walking around. I didn't know who was who, where I
Right.
was at. I didn't know what kind of neighborhood I was in. It was
Yes.
pretty scary, I mean,
Yeah, when you
it was
don't know where
not
you are, that is very scary.
exact. Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. So, and I wasn't prepared for that to happen. And so, lessons learned for myself was to be more prepared. I didn't have Ira on my phone at that time, and I, didn't think about using FaceTime at that time. I mean, it was just I went into panic mode because when he said I wasn't there, and I didn't know where to tell him that I was, it got scary real quick.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad you had that resource and that your brother was able to come get you.
Yeah,
That was a
definitely.
very good thing.
Mm.
Um, and going back now to other situations that might be scary, but might be a little bit more urgent, uh, a- and things that you'll be covering in Code Orange. So you started to share a bit about how Code Orange was born. out of your experience with the fires in California, what gap do you see Code Orange, the new podcast that's launching today, filling for our community?
So all of this stuff that we've been talking about, being prepared. And so everyone pretty much knows who Penn Street is, and she has the podcast, The Blind Chick, through Aftersight as well. And her and I are very close friends. And the way it started was she was starting to freak out because she hadn't heard from me, and she wasn't sure during those fires where I was at, if I lost my home, if I was alive or not. I mean, it was pretty serious.
Right.
And so I finally, at some point, was able to connect with her, and she was relieved, obviously, that I was fine. But, it was also scary at the same time. And once we were able to sit down and kind of just have a conversation, go, okay, breathe, we talked about all the things that had happened where we had to evacuate my family. People lost their homes. People weren't prepared. I mean, it was just a huge, giant mess, and the scary and the emotional and just all of those things is kind of how Code Orange sort of was born. And for those who don't know, Code Orange stands for evacuation. That's kind of the universal term in an emergency situation for evacuation. And so it sort of stuck when we came up with that idea for the podcast. And then our hope is to just make sure that we can help people be prepared in whatever natural disaster emergency type situation you can be in, whether, somebody gets lost and drops you off in the wrong place. How do you figure out that situation? Or if there's a fire or floods, so that if we have those kinds of situations that come up, being prepared, having a plan, and doing all of those things, hopefully will make it easier. It's never not scary, but hopefully it can be less scary if you have a plan of attack, if you're prepared ahead of time. And that's what we want to do, is help people make sure they got a go bag prepared, have things at friends and family's house if they need be, and whatever situation that sort of pertains to the blind and low vision community to help make it not as scary.
Well, I think this is going to be a great compliment to NLVL, and I think folks, you want to listen to both podcasts, because NLVL will be covering all these different aspects of safety and kind of your daily, day in, day out kinds of safety types of things that you may need. But then Code Orange goes to that next level of really that emergency preparedness. So I think that's going to be great for people.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's going to be filled with information and people who are dealing with this kind of stuff all the time. And, you just need to just be open to always learning. It's kind of like everything else in the world, technology and whatever else. You can always learn something new. You can always learn from other people. So we're just hoping that we can help make people, prepared and make it less scary, hopefully.
Right. And having that perspective of somebody with vision loss, so that it's taking into account, like you said, if you have a guide dog, if you have your cane, like all those things that people will need to know and think about. So some of those extra, that extra layer of information.
Definitely.
Well, Marty, do you have any just practical safety actions, one or two safety actions that listeners could do today?
Yeah. Get your family together and talk about it. Make a plan. What's important, where you can store things if you need to. What extra needs would you need in your particular situation? Making sure that maybe you meet your neighbors if you don't know them, or talk with them if you don't know them, and maybe have a plan. If you need to get out and you don't have a ride or someone available to give you a ride out, if you're at home or somewhere where you're on your own, make a checklist so that you can go down the checklist to create a go bag. I mean, there's lots of things. And like I said, just being prepared, making sure that you're on the same page with your family, making sure you have a plan of attack, where you're going to meet if you get separated, who you can contact if you need to, making sure your neighbors are understanding that you may need some extra help. If you have a guide dog, make sure you have some extra emergency needs for your guide dog. Either, something you can take with you within your go bag or at a family or friend's house. And just try to be prepared if there is going to be a situation. You can always do a practice run as well. Practicing, helps make it not as scary. So make a plan and put it into action as a dry run, and just, doing it and making sure that your routes out of the house if you need to, that you have your go bag and it's easy to grab. Make sure your neighbors know, make sure, you have all the things, whether it's a backup charger for your phone, which is always a good thing to have, because that's going to be your way to contact people and be able to, stay connected. And that's going to be the most important thing in those kind of situations. Get yourself to safety and then have a way to be able to reach out and contact whoever it is, family, friends, any of that kind of thing.
Great. Well, Marty, thank you so much for being on NLVL and helping me to kick off our 16-week series. And I just encourage everybody to also listen to Code Orange as well. Subscribe to both of these podcasts, Navigating Life with Vision Loss and Code Orange, or any of our other Aftersight podcasts. We encourage you to do that. And in next week, we will be diving a little bit deeper into being aware of community, and if you're out in your community and having community awareness and safety as you're out and about. So definitely tune in again next week. If you would like to share your own stories or have questions for us, or maybe you have some tips that have worked for you, some safety tips, please contact us. You can reach us by phone at 720-712-8856. 720-712-8856. You can email us at feedback@aftersight.org. That's FEEDBACK at Aftersight, AFTERSIGHT.org. And follow both of these shows. We hope that all of this information will help you to navigate your life with vision loss.